Hi, this is James from Tabletop Gaming Guild, and today we're going to take a look at Mega Man Adventures. This is published by Kess Games, and it's a 1 to 4 player game that has a solo mode and a 2-player option that will be using Professor Light. It also has a campaign mode in this game too. We're going to be going through and end up fighting Dr. Wily. In the main mode though, you're just going to be fighting a mini boss, and that'll be like Iceman or such, and you're going to be going through stages all together because this is a cooperative game, and you'll have to complete your own stages. You'll have to beat your own boss, and if everyone does this by the end of the game, they will win. And this is all done in the Nintendo theme for the game. Let's go ahead down to the table. I'm going to give you a general idea how to play the game, and then we're going to come back and I'll give you my final thoughts. All right, so this is Mega Man Adventures, and the setup is going to be determined by the number of players that are in the game. This can be played from 1 to 4 players. If you're playing with 1 to 2 players, you're going to add in the Dr. Light deck as sort of like a dummy player in the game. And you can also have a additional module that you can use in the game called the sabotage cards that can cause very bad things to happen to you during the game. This game itself is very difficult as is, so these are going to only be put in when you're an expert at the game. In addition to that, there's also a campaign mode for this game, and when you're placing out your starter weapons, in the campaign mode, you'd use the starter weapons. In regular mode, you're just going to shuffle up the weapon deck and hand out one to each player. Each player comes with this really cool acrylic standee. So there's 4 different acrylic standees in the game. You're all going to have your own little deck that's going to come. So I'm playing with Mega Man, so I have Mega Man's deck here. And you're going to set up stages that you're going to need to go through and a boss that you will need to fight at the end of the stage. In order to win the game, every player has to defeat their boss. And there's different things you can do cooperatively to help each other throughout the game. So, as that said, Mega Man is a cooperative game in which players win or lose together. In order to win, each player must reach the end of their stage by completing the stage cards, then defeat the boss by completing all the boss pattern cards. If any player runs out of life when there are no energy tanks remaining, the game ends in defeat. Challenges: Mega Man and his allies will blast enemies, jump over obstacles, and run past attacks. As they fight to reach and defeat robot masters. All of these dangerous elements are represented in the stages and the boss patterns cards by challenges. So, to play the game, it's going to go in rounds. You're going to have a draw phase, so you're going to draw 4 cards from your deck here. And when you draw 4 cards from your deck here, you are going to be able to set 3 of them in a specific way. So these ones on top here are going to be dice, and on the bottom here is going to be a skill that you can use. You can use these as supporter cards later on for the top effect, but you're going to be picking 2. So I'm going to pick one for the left support and one for the right support. Other players are going to do the same thing. When you are going to roll your dice, you're going to see what you have in your pool, what your players have in their pool, and you're going to be able to roll all the dice. So I will be able to take the right support card from my player to my left, and the left support card from the player to my left. Not the card itself, but the die. The other thing I'm going to pick is a skill. I'll put that over here, and I can use that skill. Skills themselves, some of them have a cost. This one has the cost up above of any of the dice, and some of them don't. Like here's going to be just learning straight up. You get to have that. Then I'll hold on to this card. I can use this as a support card during that round. You would have flipped over the stage so you could see what you need to do before you put out your support cards. But these stages all have different symbols on them. And I need to complete them all the way across from left to right using the dice that I roll and such. So this little time symbol here means any 2 matching. So it can either be a jump, shoot, or run. This one I need to have a jump, and I need to have a shoot. If I complete this stage with actually completing it, not taking damage, I will gain a bonus item over there, which will just be a random item. If I don't complete the stage, I will gain 3 damage, which is bad. This stage here, I just need 2 of the same thing, and I can complete this, or I'll take a damage. And this final stage here, to complete it, I will need to have a run and a shoot, or I take 2 damage. You start the game with 5 life, and you need to complete these through with the dice you rolled. You can take damage and keep on moving. You won't go reset to a different stage, but you'll either complete the stage or die. So let's say my opponent, or not my opponents, my other players, this player got me a yellow die, that player got me a blue die, and I have 2 red die. So this is the pool that I would be rolling. Now, there's going to be different symbols on these dice that come up a little bit more often. Like this is red for this one, has a lot of shooting. This one here has the double running, and this one, I think this one has the double jumping. Yeah. And the other symbols are on here too, but you're more likely to get your best ones from these, so you can use that to determine what you're going to do on here. So I can roll these dice, and then I will take a look at here, and I will go through this stage card and try to complete it. If I'm worried here, I could take a damage and get a red and blue die to complete this. And this first one here, I need 2 matching ones. I have 2 matching ones here, so I have 2 shoots, so I could use that to pass that. I could use this jump to pass the here, but then I don't have enough here. Different things will allow me to activate these guys. If I use this card right here, I can activate one of these to use in the future, or I could do that for one of my other players. Other players can help me out too. I could decide that I can't complete this stage. My standee would be here. So I'll just move forward, and I'll actually just take 3 damage. Now I'll be down to 2 life, which is bad. Then I'll look at this one, and I say, oh, well, I can easily complete this one, so I'll just take these 2 and move on. And then I go to this final stage here, and with this final stage here, I have to have a run and a shoot. And I don't have that, but I have this card, so I could play this card, give myself a run, spend the run in these 2 dice, and complete the stage. I would then go on. After everyone's completed that stage, we go on to the next stage. With a 4-player game, you're going to get 2 stages. With less players, you get more stages. And we would, before we got to that, we would discard all these cards that we use. We place them off to the side. We draw 4 more cards. And we'd start the new round with the same process of rolling the dice and fighting the monster. Going through the stage. Once we completed the stage, we actually need to then fight the robot master card. We're at the stage end, which is going to be this. So if we all made it through the stage, everyone lived, we're then going to go ahead, and I'm fighting Iceman. Now, in the setup of the game, you're going to have 4 of these dealt out, and each player can actually take a look at these, and they can take a look at what the weaknesses are of the bosses, and they can all collectively pick who they want to fight based on their character themselves, so they have the best chance of defeating their robot master card. So what do we do for that? So for the robot master card, we're going to be using these boss pattern cards to defeat it. So this one has Slick Forward, Dice Pool. If 2 or more dice or show at least the running ability, you suffer damage. This actually is a static ability that happens the entire game until you fight the boss monster. All right, so now we're going to need to take a look at this boss a little bit that we're going to be fighting. There's a couple important things on this boss card that we need to look at. One is going to be, well, this part right here. This is going to be what the boss is weak to. Anytime you see this right here, it's going to be the weapon cards with a matching type gain a bonus usage option. And the bonus units option is going to be really good to defeating the boss here. It helps gain extra dice and rolling and stuff like that. Down here is going to be the boss's ability. During the indicated phase of the round or step of the action phase, resolve or apply the indicated effect. Some abilities do not list a phase and are ongoing. So in this one has the thing overcome. So any die can be used to overcome a time symbol. Now, you remember the time symbol itself here is the one where you normally have to have 2 matching dice to defeat. Now, the signature move here is when a boss pattern shows a skull icon for a challenge, substitute the indicated icons. So this one here is going to substitute the skull for a timed icon. All right, in addition to this, you're going to see how many boss pattern cards you're going to be running. So this one here, this 5 up here, is going to show that you're going to run 5 boss pattern cards. So for this boss, now that we're fighting, we would have 5 boss pattern cards here. We would start our round as normal. So we put out our left support, right support, our skill, and have our bonus card that we can use during the turn. We're going to look at the player to our left to see its right support value die, and our player to our right to see our right support die that we get. We'll roll all our dice. We'll use our weapons and such, and then to go through all these boss pattern cards. In order to defeat the boss, we need to finish them all. So we flip this top one. And what will happen here is this one here will say, I need a run and a time. Well, with this boss here, I can use any die for that. And if I finish this one, I will gain one of these question things here, which can be all sorts of different really cool bonuses, like here's a life point and such. If I can't complete it, I lose 3 life. If I didn't die, I'll continue on to the next one. Here, remember this one will get substituted with a time symbol. So I'll have 2 time symbol, but I can overcome it with any die or any symbol. And if I can defeat this, I get the bonus. Otherwise, I'll take 3 damage. If I can finish that, I'll continue on. Here, I need a run and a jump. And if I'm not, I'll get 2 damage and continue on until you get to the last one. If you finish the last one, you have beaten your boss monster that you're trying to fight. All the other players need to do this, and you'll want to interact with each other to make sure you can. Now, a couple different things that I wanted to talk about here that to be aware of is you have these energy tanks here. If your health ever gets to where it would hit here, so let's say I lose 3 life. If I lose 3 life, I would die. So instead of dying, I can take an energy tank. That'll put me up to 5 health, and then I would lose the 3 life. So that's an interesting concept, but that'll keep you in the game. In this player setup, we only have 2 energy tanks to go on. So only 2 players can be knocked out at any time during the whole round. And in a very, very quick nutshell, that's going to be how you play the Mega Man Adventures game. So let's go ahead back up the table here, and I'll give you my final thoughts on this game. So I like Mega Man Adventures. It's a pretty fun game. It's also a difficult game. It's hard to go through those stages and survive. It's hard to fight that mini boss and survive. And then if you play the campaign mode, you're going to be getting a lot more weapons as time goes by, which is really good because you'll get them each round. You'll get new weapons. At the end, you'll have 3 weapons. So that's really cool. And you'll fight Dr. Wily. So that is really cool. There's a lot of replayability in the game itself, and the normal mode and the campaign mode with the different bosses you fight and different combinations you have and what the players do. So there's a lot of replayability in it. I love the really cool acrylic standees. Those are really awesome. I love when game companies use those instead of the cardboard standees. They just look so much better, and they will last so much longer. The one thing I didn't mention is one of the strategy points in the game is you are limited to the dice. There's only 3 blue, 3 red, and 3 yellow dice. So that's another strategy point that you have to keep in mind during the game. You can't go past those pools. So there's a lot in that. There's a lot of strategy in this game. It can be a very difficult cooperative game. So that's good too, because that gives something for everyone to overcome together. And if the game was too easy or just not that hard, then the game wouldn't be that fun and there wouldn't be very much replayability in the game. As it stands, this does. If you're a Mega Man fan, this is pretty much a game to get. This is going to be what you're going to want to get. If you love cooperative games, this is definitely a game you want to play. I would highly recommend to give this game a play. You'll probably like it. It'll probably be something that you would play in your game group. If you're not into cooperative games, this game's not for you. But otherwise, that is my opinion of Mega Man Adventures. Thank you for watching.